Hello, Mixed Nutcases and Dog Days of Podcasting listeners. This is Nuke Jess, and this is me going back in time. Cue Huey Lewis in the news. I'm going to talk a little bit about my trips. So we flew down on the 14th, and when we got there, well, we had a few delays on our flight, always. Went through Dulles, which was good, Unfortunately, we did not have a lot of time in our layover. We had just enough time to get to the correct gate, which it was a little, we were in one terminal, had to get to another terminal, had to take a train. There was like a whole rigmarole. Anyway, finally get there, use the washroom, get just enough time to use the washroom, and then boom, on the plane. So just enough time in that layover. And then as we landed, we actually ended up coming in a little later, but that was fine because we were going to be waiting for my brother-in-law and two nibblings. Originally, it was going to be my sister, brother-in-law, and their kids. And then one sister couldn't fly. So that sister turned in her flight and drove down the other sister. And then, it was actually nice for them because it meant that they didn't have to check their luggage. She was just driving it down. So brother-in-law and nibblings, we were going to just wait for them at the Savannah airport, which we did. We got off, we looked around. There's a little art museum that we went to gallery rather, in the airport of like local artists, which was kind of cool. And then, as we're walking around, I happened to notice the gift shop with all the little, cutesy poo whatevers. And they had a Savannah Bananas merch section, including a Savannah Bananas jersey. Now, I am not a huge sports fan, but I have not missed the whole Savannah Bananas thing. And I was so excited. And they had something in my size, which is not often. As a person that wears plus size, I'm a fat woman. I wear plus size. And when you're out and about and you want to get stuff, especially like merch, often it's not in your size unless you're at a gaming convention, unless you're, in an area where they would kind of expect that. But the jerseys, I never find them in the correct size, in a size I could wear. So it was really exciting. I found one. It was very long. I can wear it as a nightshirt, which fantastic. I wore it almost every night just around the house because I was constantly going from like nice outfits to getting home and hanging out, and I just threw it on instead of just my jammies. Really soft, really nice, quick wicking. Perfect. Tech got a fridge magnet. They had hats. They had all sorts of little cutesy poo things. They even had some from the other banana ball games. If you don't know about the Savannah Bananas, I don't know if I've talked about it. I feel like I've explained this, but it might just be I've explained it to enough people in my family because they had no clue what I was talking about. Banana ball is, think the Harlem Globetrotters, but for baseball. And instead of them always playing a bad team and being able to do shenanigans, all the teams are really good and they do shenanigans. That is banana ball. And the neat thing is Savannah Bananas have, they're co-ed. They have at least one female player. I think there might have been a few now at this point. And they do dance routines and they do silly things, but it's also really good baseball. And I am not a sports person. Okay. I'd definitely go to a banana ball game for sure. I've watched clips and highlights and a couple of games, but I mean, it's not going to replace sumo or anything for me, but it is a lot of fun. And I highly recommend you check out, just look them up on YouTube, Savannah Bananas or Banana Ball, and you're going to see it. And it's really fun. It's really cute. And what turned out to be, just a gimmick for some, what do they call that? Not demonstration, exhibition games turned into its own 4-team league. So it's a lot of fun. So I got the jersey. I was super excited. And then we got some food and we hung out and we drank a little, and because I was like, we're not driving. Little did I know. Tech did not drink too much. because, he doesn't eat much. He doesn't drink much when we're traveling because his stomach is always bothering him because he's anxious, and that's fine. Me, I had a couple gin and tonics, had a pretty nice meal. I don't remember what it was. I know it was delicious. They were very hospitable. There is something about the South where there are parts of the South that I do really like. And I have never really run into people in the service industry that I didn't just adore. They are all very accommodating, very nice. I always feel well taken care of. There's a lot of conversation back and forth. It's just nice. I don't know. Maybe it's where I've gone, but most of the time it is, you just feel welcome. You feel relaxed. So my brother-in-law's plane was severely delayed. So we were there for quite a while. They finally got there. We didn't have to wait for any bags or anything. Now, my brother-in-law is a Marine, not active now. He's active in another branch. I'm not going to go into details, but, this is the airport that you would take if you were going to Parris Island. It is the airport he took when he came to Parris Island. Where we were going was across the water from Parris Island. So there's going to be some talk about Parris Island. So right away, you see there's the rendezvous point. There's signs everywhere saying Marines go that way. He was just loving it. So we go to get the rental car, and what do you know? His license is expired. No big. So we rent the car. It is a giant, what is it? Expedition? Yeah, Expedition. 8-seater, absolutely enormous. Takes a while to figure things out. The whole time Tech is driving, it's like, how do I turn on the window wipers? How do I do this? Like, it doesn't have a shifter. It has a twisty knob. It's like an old style clicker, from the early days of remotes. Lots of giant screens everywhere. So it took a little figuring out. We're driving. It's getting dark. We're driving through from Savannah to South Carolina. And I'll just say Parris Island. We're heading to Parris Island. Not there, but one of the surrounding communities. And so we're having a blast and just heading on out. We get in, it's pretty late, but already my mom is there because another sister, I've got a lot of siblings. So one sister who has three smaller children, she drove down with my mom. She got a house for herself because she has small children. She didn't want to mix things up. My brother, one of my brothers, drove down with two of his three boys, who are still school age, but a little bit older, and middle school and high school. And he and his wife were already there with the boys. My two sisters that drove down were there. So we get in and everybody's up, everybody's whatever. We're put stuff away, big hugs, all good. And that first night, we're just hanging out, we're just talking, and it is so much fun just kind of being there together. The next day, Friday, one of the things that we wanted to do, we had a meet and greet for the wedding, but we wanted to go to Parris Island to kind of look around. Didn't really know how much we'd be able to see, but we knew there was a museum there, and my brother-in-law was like, I should be able to get everybody in. And then we looked up, okay, what do we actually need? And so one of them was like, you need a real ID, you need a valid driver's license. And okay, we got this, we got that. And then my sister that drove down with the small kids, the oldest of her small kids was a huge history fan, huge military buff. He wants to go. My mom and my sister who couldn't fly, they're like, no, we're out. My brother, who I did not expect to be interested, was like, oh no, that sounds cool. Let's go. I'm like, okay. And, and my sister, brother-in-law, and their kids, of course, are in. And of course, Tech is in. Come on. It's military stuff. He wanted to see the yellow footprints. Okay. So we are all going. There's a little bit of, switcheroos in certain cars. So my brother-in-law's in one car. My sister, his wife, is in another car because they each have military IDs. And then we're in our car. And I'm like, Yeah, no military ID, but here's my passport. There you go. That's a real ID. We're good. So we were able to get in, and then we went to the museum. We spent a good amount of time at the museum. We went driving around, looking at different things. It kind of got a little lost because we were in like this convoy finding the yellow footprints. I'm like, there's a sign right there, and I can't quite communicate with my brother-in-law. And we ended up leaving before seeing them, but we went back another day to see them. Yellow footprints is where you're supposed to stand right when you get off the bus. It was really neat just hearing him talk about being there and how, he's like, when we got off the airport and they took us to Paris Island, it was like 4 hours, but it's not. It's like 40 minutes. How did it take so long? Were they just driving us in circles? And then when I got off the bus and I stood on the footprints and then it was getting to our barracks, it took so long, but it's not. It's just down the street. Like, I don't understand. And so there was definitely that perspective of, well, first off, he was very young when he was there, but also this warped sense of time and everything. And so throughout the weekend, we're getting some pretty cool stories that I hadn't quite heard. I had heard a few stories of his time there, but some of these were ones I had not heard. So it was wild. I remember when we were driving to the community, the house that we had rented. He was saying when he was in Paris Island in Basic, he was like, and you'd sit there and you'd look out across the water, and depending on where you were either looking at this community or that community, and you'd think, oh, those people, those lights, at night you'd see the lights, and it's like, oh, they must be so happy, so normal, blah blah blah, and just having this idea. And I guess there's stories of recruits trying to swim across. And as we're taking the bridge over to the community, he goes, "Oh my gosh, I'm going there. I'm going to those lights." And I'm like, "Yes, you are one of those people now." He's like, "I've transcended." So it was a lot of fun. And the museum was really cool. I enjoyed the museum. I am a museum junkie. Like, it's just, yeah. I will say it's very hot. It was very, very hot. I was melting. I was glad I have this like Columbia quick dress that I wear. And that was just perfect because it was so hot. And I had my Tilly hat. It may not be so fashionable, but I was not going to get burned. I was applying sunscreen everywhere. But we got to see the ranges. We got to see, and we saw like there were classes going on at the time. We got to see the exercise areas, the obstacle course. You can't go on them though. Only active members could go on there, which technically my brother-in-law could. But we also got a whole bunch of like just troops assembling and moving around and doing cadence, and times where we just stopped, we pulled over on the side of the road listening and watching, and it was kind of neat. It was really cool. I will say driving on base, well, especially that base in the US, is very different than when you're in Canada. And I've been to where Basic is in Canada as well, not for tech, haven't known him that long, but for someone else that you've heard on this podcast. I was there for their graduation. But yeah, and so it was definitely different. It's a lot easier. Like in Canada, a lot of the bases you can just drive on. Sometimes they'll check your ID, sometimes they won't, depending on where things are in the world. I'll just say like what's happening in the world. But generally, like you can just drive onto bases. People live there. It's not a big deal. But in the US, it's a little bit different, especially, considering this is where Basic is being done. But it was a lot of fun. And then we had our meet and greet. So everybody went home. We got on some pretty nice dresses and nice attire. Tech had very flashy outfit. I'm going to see if I can pull up a picture and put that in the show notes. So you'll be able to see some pictures of us looking purty and all cleaned up. I will say, many days I was down there. So I'd get myself ready for whatever event and I'd do my hair and I'd get everything perfect. And then it downpoured and or worse. And then the humidity decided to take my hair and make it look like I had bedhead. So I have a lot of bedhead pictures. I have one picture where I'm holding a baby, my great niece, and it really looks like I stuck my finger in a socket. And that's because there is a giant fan behind me just blowing my hair up. So I kind of look like the aliens guy. I don't care. I am not the focus of that picture. The baby is the focus of that picture. I actually think that's from that. Yeah, that's from the Friday night, the meet and greet. So when we decided to go, we opened up the door and we're like, oh, yay, it's raining. So I drove down, brought my group, drove on down. They jumped out of the car, ran because there's like a public parking place. I'm parking. They just ran in. And so I got to go. I got to pay. I'm out in the rain. And then I got to walk on in. I did not bring my umbrella because as I was leaving the house, I said, oh, let me pack my umbrella. And Tex says, no, I don't want to deal with going with an umbrella through security. I was like, I always travel with an umbrella. He's like, no, just leave it. I did not have a raincoat. Somebody had his little travel raincoat, but I didn't have a raincoat. So I had nothing to protect me from the rain. Not that I'm made of sugar, but, fancy outfits. And got totally drenched. So we got in, had a great time. There was, my siblings and my cousin and his kids. And that's pretty much it from our side. There was, it's my niece. So, that's the extent. We didn't go into like all the external cousins and so forth. It was more like her cousins. And I think the same thing on his side, his aunts, uncles and cousins and some friends and stuff. And she had some friends down there as well, but they were trying not to have it like super huge because the venue was this historic manor. So there really wasn't any room for everyone to be in. It was like 3 different floors with different balconies. And so there really wasn't a room big enough for all of us, but if they had many more, they would not have been able to accommodate. But it was very interesting watching everybody run in out of the rain and make their way inside and then just kind of get in. But once we were in, we were all having a good time. We were all very hot and sticky, but it was a great day. Some people got wetter than others. It was very warm. The groom actually had somebody go out and get a giant fan, which ends up making me get the alien's hair. And having that was a huge help. I did not know that he did that until long after. I think after I got back, somebody mentioned it. I was like, oh, that was really smart. Very resourceful. But it was really neat. It was a lot of fun and getting to see people. I introduced myself to a couple people on his side, got to meet grandma and all of that. So that was really cool. And just a lot of fun connecting, hanging out, really good food, and having a good time. I will say the staff that they had running everything was really good. They were very good at anticipating people's needs and running around and making sure that people had everything that they needed. It was really lovely and happy. I will say one of the things that I love about weddings is how it brings people together, and you get more, especially like family weddings, you get more than just an event. You get like a couple of days where everybody gets to see each other, and it's just really neat and fun. So we had a great time. After they said, hey, we're going to be going to this brewery, anybody can come. And because it was just such a whirlwind, I was like, you know what, I'm going to go back to the house. And we went back to the house and we played some games, and we did play this game called Voted, I think it is, where you get a card and it's like person most likely to, or something like that. So it's like, this is the person that will order food from a place within 5 minutes, or from down the street, or person most likely to be convicted but be innocent, something like that. And there's a couple of ones that were like maybe blue or just didn't work for the group because we were all family. but we ended up having a lot of fun. And throughout the evening, it was we'd switch out different people because we actually went over the number. I think there's 10. You can do up to 10 players, and we ended up having over that, especially as people were coming back from the brewery. But we had so much fun. We were laughing so hard. It was a fun night, and I really enjoyed myself. So that is day 15. Talk to you later. Nutty Bites is produced by Nimlas Studios under a Creative Commons Attribution No Commercial Non-Derivatives 3.0 International License. That means you can't change it without my permission. You can share it and send it to your friends. Just link back to me, my site, and everything. We live at nimlas.org, which has links to everything social media, including facebook.com/group/nuttybites and patreon.com/nukejoss, or call 347-NUTTY42.